Mark Bowman, 5-star tight end, number 1 tight end in America, commits to USC last week, and big get for USC. I mean, anytime you land the top player in his position, especially at a spot like tight end where you can be a mismatch, more on that later, it's a good thing, especially for a Lincoln Riley offense. But the buzz from this commitment really started to get going here when WeAreSC's Scott Schrader, USC's On 3 site, get a membership over there, reported that USC could provide Bowman with an opportunity to earn $8 to $10 million in NIL by the time he leaves USC after 3 years. So if you're doing the math here, right around what, $2.5, $3.5-ish million per year for a 3-year stint, it's big time money. And so with that out there for the world to unpack together, the initial reaction was $8 to $10 million over 3 years for a tight end? I mean, that's quarterback money. And so, yes, it was a big get for USC, but people started to question, well, did USC maybe, overpay for a tight end? Hear me clearly. While the headline maybe reads a little bit funny because it's a tight end, USC is not paying for a tight end. USC is paying for a mismatch in their game plan every single weekend when he's on their football team. Like, you're not thinking about how much you're paying Mark Bowman when he's catching a game-winning touchdown against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, which is kind of my next point here. The mismatch part of it's awesome. That's what you're actually paying for. But like, if you're a college football fan complaining about NIL relative to landing a kid, or not landing a kid, I should say, what are we talking about here? This is not against the rules. This is modern college football. Like, more power to USC for being willing to go pay for a Mark Bowman, for being willing to pony up and go get it done. And also, we keep saying this, if it was about money, if that was all it was about for a Mark Bowman, which, again, I don't think that was the case. We'll talk about that in a second. If that was all it was about, you could have ponied up too and paid that dollar amount to go get the guy. So either A, you weren't willing to, which, again, if you're not willing to do it, stop complaining. 2, if you weren't able to do it, I wouldn't shout about being broke, which we've said multiple times on this show and made that very, very clear. The idea that Mark Bowman only chose USC for NIL to me is a little bit foolish because it's still Lincoln Riley, arguably the best play caller in college football, up with the Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin and guys like that. He's not going to just some podunk offense that's got no credibility as a coordinator or play caller in Lincoln Riley. He's going somewhere where I think he feels like he can be utilized and have success. And also, he's staying right down the road from where he goes to high school at Mater Dei in Santa Ana, California, like a good hour maybe from USC. This makes a lot of sense on far past the NIL of this whole thing. I would also say this relative to what you're hearing Mark Bowman's being paid. Do you think that number just appeared out of thin air? I don't think it was a thing where, okay, well, now Georgia or Texas, who were also in the hunt for a Mark Bowman, they're not broke. They were probably offering him a pretty high dollar figure as well. Now, USC won out, and NIL sounds like a big part of that, but I don't think it was a thing where those schools were offering $500,000, or that would shock me if that were the reality. Mark Bowman is probably worth a pretty penny in a lot of these coaches' eyes, and USC, based on how they put this whole thing together, seems to have had the most firepower, but it wasn't like these. I don't think it was just a massive canyon between what USC was willing to pay and these other schools. Just my humble opinion. So here's my I guess here's my biggest takeaway from this whole thing with Mark Bowman. If USC is willing to pay for a tight end and a mismatch at the tune of $8 to $10 million over the course of 3 years, as Scott Schrader reported, what would they be willing to do for a quarterback in the portal if it's a proven guy, or if it's the next Bryce Underwood, the number 1 overall player year in and year from the beginning of the class to the end of the class? Like, if you're willing to pay for a tight end at this level, and I'm not saying Mark Bowman is or isn't worth it. I think he probably, if USC is putting that money up for the guy, I'm sure there's probably some value there. But what about a guy who touches the football every single play? How well resourced, how well equipped is USC to go to bat and go grab a player like that? I think that's where this kind of gets frightening. Steve Wiltfong, who we'll have here on in a matter of, minutes to seconds now, has said that USC is the most powerful when it comes to NIL in all of college football as it stands right now. That wasn't always the case. It wasn't always how it was in Los Angeles. It was probably supposed to be because of LA and the alumni base and all of the optics around what USC is supposed to be. But it wasn't always that way. USC didn't have their ducks in a row. Based on landing Mark Bowman, they appeared to have that. That would terrify me if I'm the rest of college football, if USC is truly swinging a bat like that now. Go land a tight end for that price point. What's a quarterback? What's the number one quarterback in college football? Again, portal or high school. The bottom line here is USC is willing to and equipped to go play ball at that level on the NIL front. And with everything Lincoln Riley has out there currently cooking, recruiting-wise, I think they're going to have a great season this year on the field. A lot to like. And there's a lot to like there for USC with Mark Bowman as well. So this is a big get for all the reasons we just mentioned, but that's new college football now, man. Play ball or get left behind and get beat. And if you're getting beat because of NIL, don't complain about it. Don't whine about it. Just go to the bank and hit the ATM a little bit for us, huh? How about that?